Russia preparing for Finnish invasion, a growing threat to NATO and Europe. Russia's military buildup near the Finnish border is sparking intense concern across Europe and NATO. As the conflict in Ukraine drags on, evidence suggests that President Vladimir Putin has far grander ambitions than just Ukraine. The expansion of Russian military forces along Finland's border indicates preparations for a possible invasion that could trigger a broader war involving NATO. The strategic implications of Russia's moves and Finland's efforts to defend itself against this looming threat. Massive military buildup on the Finnish border. Recent reports from multiple intelligence and media outlets reveal a significant expansion of Russian military infrastructure near Finland. The Kyiv Independent highlights the drastic upgrade of a military base near Petrozavodsk, a Russian city located just 100 miles from the Finnish border. This base is evolving into a new military headquarters capable of commanding tens of thousands of troops. Western military intelligence officials describe this force as the potential backbone of a Russian army poised to confront NATO directly. United 24 media further details that this buildup is concentrated primarily in the Leningrad military district, which borders Finland as well as the Baltic states of Latvia and Estonia. Currently, only small brigades are stationed here, but plans are underway to expand these into full divisions, each comprising roughly 10,000 soldiers. Satellite imagery confirms construction of new storage facilities and extensive railway lines, which are critical for supplying troops, equipment, and ammunition. Major Juha Kukkola, a professor at Finland's National Defense University, emphasizes the importance of these developments. If you see them building new railheads or renovating old ones, it would be good to start paying attention. This logistical expansion signals Russia's intention to maintain a large, well-supplied force ready for deployment along the Finnish border. Putin's broader strategic ambitions. Finland's concern stems not only from its proximity to Russia but also from historical context and Putin's wider geopolitical goals. The Wall Street Journal points out that Finland was forced to cede territory to the Soviet Union in 1940. Since then, Finland has tried to avoid antagonizing Russia, maintaining a delicate neutrality. However, Russia's invasion of Ukraine shattered this approach, pushing Finland to join NATO and strengthen its defenses. In Finland's view, Ukraine is just the beginning. Putin's ultimate objective appears to be the restoration of a Soviet-style empire, reclaiming territories lost after the Cold War. While Finland was never part of the Soviet Union, the previous Soviet land grabs and current military posturing suggest it could be next. Russia's buildup on the Finnish border is a clear indication of this intent, especially since it would require confronting NATO as a whole. Ruslin Pukov, director of the Moscow Center for the Analysis of Strategies and Technologies, states bluntly, "The logic of the last decade shows we're expecting some conflict with NATO." This highlights how Russia's military expansion is not only about Finland but also a strategic positioning against NATO's eastern flank. The scale and nature of Russia's military expansion. Despite heavy losses in Ukraine, estimated at over 900,000 soldiers killed, injured, or captured, Russia is rebuilding its military at an alarming pace. Defense spending has surged from 3.6% of GDP before the war to 7% today, fueling new arms production and the opening of military plants. This rise in military expenditure enables Russia to expand its forces and modernize equipment simultaneously. One striking example is the production of the T-90M main battle tanks. In 2021, Russia produced about 40 annually, but recent intelligence indicates this number has jumped to 300 per year. While this is insufficient to replace the heavy losses sustained in Ukraine, it suggests that many of these tanks are being stockpiled for future conflicts, possibly against Finland or NATO. Artillery production is also increasing. The Wall Street Journal reports that Russia expects to produce 20% more artillery cannons and munitions in 2025 than in 2024. Additionally, North Korea's recent shipment of over 200 long-range artillery systems to Russia further bolsters these capabilities. General Christopher Cavally, commander of U.S. forces in Europe, warns that the Russian military is reconstituting and growing at a faster rate than most analysts anticipated. He notes that Russia's army is currently larger than at the war's outset, despite the heavy combat losses. Strategic reorganization and logistics. Putin is not only expanding troop numbers but also restructuring how Russia organizes its military districts. In 2024, several new districts were created, each linked to defending major Russian cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. This restructuring concentrates forces in the west, closer to NATO territories. The Leningrad military district, traditionally home to sparse units, is now being transformed into a hub for thousands of troops near the Finnish border. Similarly, the Moscow military district is enhancing logistical connections with Belarus, a key staging area for the Ukraine invasion. Belarus borders Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland, further indicating Russia's preparation for broader operations in the region. These logistical improvements, new rail lines, storage facilities, and integrated transport routes, are essential for sustaining large-scale military campaigns. They enable rapid troop movements and resupply, critical factors in modern warfare. Manpower crisis or strategic recruitment. Russia's heavy losses in Ukraine have led many to believe it faces a severe manpower shortage. Estimates suggest over 900,000 Russian soldiers have been killed, wounded, or captured, nearly matching the size of Russia's active army at the war's start. To meet its ambitious goal of expanding the military to 1.5 million active members, Russia would need to recruit hundreds of thousands more troops. However, recent developments suggest Russia may be overcoming this challenge without resorting to mass mobilization. The Wall Street Journal reports a sharp increase in military recruitment, fueled by one-time signing bonuses that can reach up to $20,000, more than double the average annual household income in Russia. Ika Korhonen, head of the Bank of Finland's Institute for Emerging Economics, notes, "These one-time payments have gone up considerably, making them more than what many people would earn for an entire year otherwise." U.S. estimates indicate Russia is now recruiting around 30,000 soldiers per month, up from 25,000 in mid-2024. Some Eastern European sources claim the figure may be as high as 40,000 per month. This aggressive recruitment strategy, combined with promises of veteran benefits and political opportunities for returning soldiers, is helping Russia rebuild its ranks. Finland's response: preparing for the worst. Faced with this mounting threat, Finland is taking several measures to bolster its defenses. The country has committed to raising defense spending to 3% of GDP by 2029, surpassing NATO's recommended 2%. While this increase is significant, it still represents only a fraction of Russia's military budget, which is around $145.9 billion annually. On the ground, Finland is reinforcing its 857-mile border with Russia through increased patrols, new fencing up to 13 feet high topped with barbed wire, and 24-hour electronic surveillance. Soldiers on skis, drones, and helicopters regularly monitor the border, maintaining a high state of readiness. Finland is also considering exiting an international treaty banning anti-personnel landmines to deploy them as a deterrent against Russian incursions. Prime Minister Petteri Orpo explained this move as necessary to adapt to changes in the security environment in a more versatile way. This decision has sparked controversy but underscores Finland's determination to prepare for a potential invasion. In civil defense, Finland has built thousands of underground shelters capable of housing all 600,000 residents of Helsinki, stocked with supplies like bottled water, gasoline, and non-perishable food. This readiness reflects the country's acknowledgement of the very real possibility of a future conflict. The military balance, an unequal fight. Despite Finland's efforts, the military balance remains heavily tilted in Russia's favor. Finland's active military personnel number around 24,000, supported by 870,000 reservists who are not yet fully mobilized. In contrast, Russia's buildup near the border will soon station tens of thousands of troops in the Leningrad military district alone. Russia's advantages extend beyond manpower. It fields over 5,750 tanks compared to Finland's 200, holds thousands more artillery pieces, and possesses a vastly superior naval fleet, including an aircraft carrier, over 60 submarines, and 10 destroyers, categories in which Finland has none. Russia also maintains more than 41,000 aerial assets, overwhelming Finland's capabilities in the air. In a conventional fight, Russia's numerical and technological superiority would likely dominate. However, Finland's NATO membership introduces a complex dynamic. An attack on Finland would invoke collective defense measures, potentially escalating the conflict into a wider NATO-Russia war. Looking ahead, the implications for NATO and Europe. Russia's military buildup near Finland is part of a broader strategy to challenge NATO and reassert dominance in Eastern Europe. The improved Russian artillery kill chain, the ability to rapidly detect and strike targets, demonstrated in Ukraine is a worrying sign of increasing Russian military efficiency. This capability, combined with growing troop numbers and logistical infrastructure, means Russia may be preparing for a conflict far more formidable than many analysts expected. Andrei Belousov, Russia's defense minister, openly acknowledges the threat posed by NATO, citing decisions made at the July 2024 North Atlantic Summit and corresponding doctrinal documents from the US and NATO countries. From Russia's perspective, NATO and Finland represent existential security challenges that justify this military buildup. For NATO, this means increasing vigilance and preparedness along its eastern borders. The alliance must consider the possibility of a new front in Finland, which would stretch resources and complicate strategic planning. The situation demands coordinated responses, enhanced intelligence sharing, and continued support for Finland's defense efforts.